President Buhari launches critical operational assets procured by Nigeria Police Force.
In line with your service oath and statutory obligation to our beloved country, you will not disappoint us all as you put to effect your election security governance operational plans.
2023 elections. INEC chairman briefs party leaders on non-functioning polling units.
No new registrants choose the polling units and no voters indicated interest to transfer to them during the last continuous voter registration exercise.
Key players in livestock sector want federal government to show more commitment to addressing farmers' herders' crisis.
Good morning, Nigeria. Today we shall discuss the presidential campaign of the Allied People's Movement.
From city to city, constituencies and senatorial districts, as well as from state to state, different political parties are intensifying efforts, wooing electorates to their side. The frenzy of the campaigns is expected to be on until 11 days, which of course will be the commencement of the general elections in the country.
The Allied People's Movement, APM, is one of the 18 registered political parties gunning for the top seat and other elective positions across the states. And incidentally, the APM is the only party that is fielding a female presidential candidate who is not, as it were, deterred from slugging it out with the male folk.
Yes, and like an Amazon who is seen with a seemingly political skills. She is Princess Chichi Oje, a Delta State-born politician, described as an astute administrator and a corporate finance specialist who studied in Nigeria as well as overseas.
Chichi Oje's emergence as the APM presidential candidate was one many saw as dramatic, with the former presidential standard bearer of her party, Yusuf Mama Dantale, pulling out to allow her, of course, slug it out with 17 other presidential candidates.
Now, a loud statement, one may say, as reflected in the manifesto, which amplifies an enabling environment for economic prosperity, political stability, national cohesion, and social religious harmony. And this is further anchored on its principles, which seek to secure people and property, as well as protect the environment and improve infrastructure.
Well, unlike the political heavyweights, the APM says it is a people-centered party that exists solely for the advancement of the welfare of the Nigerian people. That's what it claims. Now, and this is, of course, by ensuring that public resources are spent to make Nigerians live decently and have also a prosperous life.
Now, in some quarters, they call the APM presidential candidate Chichi Oje as an Amazon who's standing tall and unrelenting in fighting for the #1 seat. How will the Allied People's Movement achieve its manifesto if given the mandate? This is our discussion today on Good Morning Nigeria as we beam our searchlight on the Allied People's Movement presidential campaign. I am Kirian Umayo. Thanks indeed for joining us, and as people always say, happy Valentine's Day.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I joined my colleague Kirian to also welcome you to our flagship program, coming to you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. As usual, we'll have our complimentary segments, and these will include business and newspaper review. And for now, we'll take the highlights of the morning news with Olajide Bello. And I also join Kirian in saying happy Valentine's Day to all our viewers around the country and elsewhere around the world. Morning, Jide.
Hello, Kirian. Hello, Kingsley. Good morning, and here is the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed the conviction that his administration has significantly attained its repositioning plan for the Nigeria police and expressed the hope that the incoming national leadership of the country will sustain the initiative. This, he emphasized, is critical towards deepening the democratic credentials as well as advancing rule of law. The president was speaking at the official launch of critical operational assets procured by the Nigeria Police Force.
The overriding goal is to modernize, reform and restore the dwindling primacy of our police within the internal security architecture of the country. And I am delighted that the force leadership is advancing my vision to bequeath to the nation a democratic culture in which the police will not only be apolitical and impartial during the 2023 general election, but in which the process will be peaceful and secure, and the outcome truly reflective of the free will of the citizens.
President Muhammadu Buhari has directed a newly constituted transition committee headed by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to ensure that the achievements recorded in the HIV program are clearly highlighted in transition notes and a sustainable roadmap articulated for the incoming administration. The President gave the directive at an audience with the United States Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, and Director General, National Agency for Control of AIDS, NACA.
I want to assure the United States government that Nigeria remains committed to eradicating HIV and other public health emergencies and would leave no stone unturned until a sustainable system is put in place.
Elections will now hold in 240 polling units in 28 states and the Federal Capital Territory as no voter indicated interest. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu said this at a meeting with leaders of political parties in Abuja. The INEC Chairman also expressed concern over the attitude of party agents and increasing states of electoral violence.
No new registrants choose the polling units and no voters indicated interest to transfer to them during the last continuous voter registration exercise, mainly for security reasons. Election will not hold in these polling units, and we have made the details of these polling units available to all political parties.
Towards achieving a safe, secure and ideal environment for the conduct of credible polls, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has reiterated commitment of the force in dealing with miscreants who may want to cause trouble during the conduct of the general elections. This was at a strategic managers meeting at the force headquarters, Abuja.
You are to preclude the activities of quasi-security agents in all political activities who may be employed by politicians from participating in the electoral process. Likewise, ensure that you closely monitor the illicit activities of Civilian Jack Task Force, National Union of Road Transport Workers, Amotekun, Ebubagu, and Hunters Association and other state-owned security outfits with a view to checkmating their activities within your jurisdiction.
Professor Jaga's Committee on Livestock Reforms and Mitigation of Conflict has advised the present and incoming administrations to show more commitment to addressing farmers' health crisis in the country. This is coming as the Sultan of Sokoto raised concerns over abuses of the Transhumanist Treaty and movement of arms in West Africa. This was the high point at a national conference organized by the Kano State government in Abuja.
Been to Benue Makodi at least 3 times as Sultan to sit with the governors and the traditional leaders to discuss about peace in the Benue Valley. At the end of it, when we have come with suggestions, we throw them away. Nothing is done. Back to square one. Let this conference not be in the same manner. Whatever we have agreed we should do, please, let's do it, and let's do it well.
National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, has flagged off skills acquisition training and youth empowerment program for 100 youth in Ogun State.
empowering even the existing skilled manpower we have to modern way of doing things, to upgrade it, and that's exactly the directive of Mr. President to Naseni, to ensure that we do all this around the whole country.
That's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Kurian and Kingsley after this break. Do stay with us.
The 26th edition of the PMB Administration Scorecard Series will feature the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Date, Tuesday, 14th February 2023. Time, 10:30 a.m. Venue, National Press Center, Radio House, Abuja. The event will be broadcast live by NTA, FRCN and VON and streamed on the social media of the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Mrs. Lydia Shehu Jafia, MNI, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Announcer.
Nigeria is at the crossroads. Nigerians yearn for a rescuer, and the time to choose wisely is now. Who will save our fatherland? Who will rescue Nigeria? Only one man. He is battle ready, tested and trusted, capable and dependable. He is Atiku Abubakar. We call him the unifier on a rescue mission. He's detribalized, uncompromised, and ready to make Nigeria great again. Atiku is coming together with Ifeanyi Okowa. This team is unbeatable. This is no time for sentiment. It's time for competence. Atiku is the best option for a brighter tomorrow. Let's vote Atiku for president come 2023. Vote PDP. Power to the people. This message is sponsored by Atiku Okowa Coalition, Edo State.
Esther, you're late again. Esther?
She's a wandering light in the darkness. She's beautiful. Oh, she's a superstar.
Morning, Esther.
She never let her mama down. She's beautiful. She know the fear. She know they ever carry hand for her.
No phones at the table, please. Esther? I love you too.
Got everything? Don't forget I'll pick you at 4.
Airtel, the smartphone network. On behalf of the government and the good people of Imo State, I, Senator Hope Uzodinma, most heartily welcome His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari to our state on Tuesday, February 14, 2023 for the campaign rally of the APC presidential candidate, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the commissioning of the MCC Toronto Road. It is not a matter of coincidence that Mr. President is visiting Imo State again. We also welcome in a special way our presidential candidate, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and his running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima, and to all APC leaders coming with our presidential candidate, including the national chairman, national officials of the party and governors. We say, come into the warm embrace of the famed hospitality of Imo people. Welcome to Imo State and happy Lovers Day. Senator Hope Uzodinma, Governor, Imo State.
Our country one better. Nigeria one better. Our country one better. Nigeria one better. Who go do one for us? Tinubu, Nabala Tinubu. Papa Tokambo, Tinubu. Mama Tokambo. For a better Nigeria. Tinubu. Good life Tinubu. Now you we want to. Now you we need oh.
Yes, so people of Nigeria, they jolly for the better when one shell for we country. So as they ready to vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as the next president of Nigeria, our people don't look the matter well. Say na only Bola Tinubu don't do what it everybody fit see. Now him get the experience where he go fit use take make our country better, make life sweet for we and our picking them. Bola Tinubu don't gather better plan to chase down war for we youth, better school, the security of lives and property, unity and peace for all we country people, people of Nigeria. But these and many other better things when in don't vocalize, it good make we all vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu for president of Nigeria. Vote Kashim Shettima as vice president. Vote APC, the party where show broom.
Now you we need oh.
The security challenges we have faced as a government have been daunting, from terrorism to banditry, to kidnapping, to separatist violence, to crude oil theft, to armed robbery and sundry crimes. It's undoubtedly the greatest challenge to the peace and security of our great country since the Civil War of 1967 to 1970. It is the kind of challenge that would have overwhelmed many nations. But thanks to the purposeful leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, we can say, I want to repeat, that the worst is over and peace and security are gradually returning to the land.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
If you just joined us, the program is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of NTA. We'll now talk business. Traders and buyers bear their minds on rejection of old Naira notes despite Supreme Court's injunction. Let's now join Kunle Adeye for details of that and more.
Traders and buyers caught at the edge of rejection of old notes and poor network service are expressing their frustration.
They are rejecting the old Naira note from my hand. They said they can't serve me, they can't give me fuel because I'm holding the old Naira notes.
Besides the rejection, some residents are also complaining of unfair treatment by some commercial banks.
Customers have been here since 6 a.m. They were being pushed with the boot of the gun, that's the bottom of the gun. They were being tear gassed, they were being treated, dehumanized like animals. And we feel this is not proper.
I do collect the old money because I need money.
They deposited some cash in the bank, the old note, yes. But they told me that they just send them in circular, that they should stop collecting the old notes.
Meanwhile, businesses are picking up as people are using alternative payment methods to transact. And to the details of Monday's tradings on the floor of the exchange. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeye.
Thank you for the business package. Up next is newspaper review.
All right, and Chukudi Okole Uwaja is here with us this morning for a review of today's national dailies. Chukudi, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Kirian. Good morning, Kingsley.
Morning, Chukudi, and good to see you.
Same here.
Yeah, we have 3 papers to review here this morning. I have the Punch newspaper for a start. Punch newspaper above the name flag of the Punch newspaper. North will benefit greatly from Kulmani oil fields, as Tinubu there. It's on page 18. Share love on Val's Day, not HIV, NACA. It's on page 20. Atiku Rivers rally cancelled to prevent deaths. That's according to PDP. The story is on page 5. I regret coup alarm. Fanika there after DSS grilling. That's on page 20 where you get that. Okay, now the lead story on the Punch newspaper this morning. Narrow deadline. Banks, fuel stations reject old notes. Ignore Supreme Court order. 3 riders to that. Buhari and Mefele meet again as old Naira deposits hit over 2 trillion. POS operators, depositors panic. Flood banking halls with old currency. Fuel marketers blame banks. Courts turn back lawyers with expired money. All that on pages 2 and 18 of the Punch. Okay, Buhari launches security equipment, warns police against politics. That's the photo story you see over there. For details, you can go to page 8 of the Punch newspaper. Our Kano ex-governorship candidate and imposter, according to LP chair, is on page 16. AK-47 bearing pastor arrested. Policeman faces probe. Church apologizes. You capture that on page 5. Gunmen invade Imo local government secretariat. Set court ablaze. On page 5 is where you get that on the Punch newspaper.
Let me also take a look at the headlines on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper. And immediately below the nameplate says, "No threat against 2023 polls. FG assures. Insists no Nigerian territory under Boko Haram and ISWAP. Urges UK, US and others to stop frivolous travel advisories. We've saved 158 billion naira from crude oil thieves." That's according to the defense minister. The list story comes with a kicker, and it says, "Sultan to federal government and politicians. Put politics aside. Nigerians hungry and angry. Cautions on severe crisis. Ganduje helps on ranches to curb herders farmers clashes. 4,000 died from conflicts in 7 years." That's attributed to the IDB pulse, that is Islamic Development Bank. UK-Nigeria trade hits £5.5 billion. 2023, Nigerians watching you, Buhari tells police. No election in 240 polling units of 28 states, according to INEC. Banks and petrol stations reject old notes in Ondo and Osun. Coup allegation. Atiku hails DSS, says Fani Kayode not alone. Details on page 8. CSOs protest in Lagos, say Bawa not fit to head EFCC. Again, gunmen attack Anambra police station, kill one. 1,500, as Nigerians will prefer to call it, 1,500 sacked teachers protest in Osun. Federal government to spend 82% of revenue on debt service in 2023. Kirian.
Okay, now the leadership newspaper. Let's get that before Chukudi comes in. Leadership newspaper above the nameplate. Ignore fake news on elections postponement, says INEC. You get that story on page 8. Also on page 8 is a Fani Kayode recounting ordeal at DSS over coup claim. Scarcity. Federal government raises petrol supply. Evacuation to 502.21 liters. Okay, Nigerians may rise up against their leaders, Sultan warns, is on page 7. As Naira black market booms, CBN silence throws Nigerians into confusion. Apex Bank mom on the Supreme Court ruling. Supermarkets, drivers, traders reject old notes, banks give conditions. PMB meets Emefiele as court hears case tomorrow. All that on page 4 of the leadership newspaper. There are other stories here. Gunmen bomb Imo court. Police kill gun runner in Anambra. Page 16 is where you get the stories. Miners beg federal government for prompt compensation over acquired factory site. On page 6 is where that is. Police grill Abuja pastor who brandished AK-47 rifle in church. It's on page 9. All right, Chukudi. I know you would like to begin with the pastor. The pastor who brandished.
What pastor?
Rifle.
I'm not even including it because I don't know how to classify that behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't.
And whether it's a spiritual behavior or physical behavior.
You know, sometimes in this country, you see certain things happen and you're telling yourself, it couldn't be happening.
Yeah, exactly.
It couldn't be happening. But it's happening right there before you. Anyhow, let's go to more serious things. We won't conduct elections in 244 polling units, says INEC. And the reason is simple. There are no new registered voters in these polling units, and no one has requested to transfer, to the polling units, to vote. The impulse on citing the headline would be for people to think that INEC is about to disenfranchise people in those who would be voting, who should be voting, at those polling units. But that's not the case.
How are we sure that persons who have, who want to be dubious during the election will not use those those polling units, which of course has been identified, even though voting wouldn't take place there.
No,
You know, now what I mean is this, that during elections, for instance, anybody who has intentions, you know, to rig election could use those polling units. So how are we going to be sure that they will ensure that nobody will do that?
Well, I don't know if anybody is going to set up their own INEC, polling officer and all that. Get their beavers, create conditions for voting.
Such has happened in the past.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, we don't wish that to happen.
Monitoring and enforcement.
But you know, because of beavers, people are devising other means of rigging this election.
Oh, I don't doubt that people would try to be devious in terms of trying to circumvent, you know, things. But I don't think that's going to be easy for them.
When you have foreigners who are trooping into the country with PVCs, recall the news of last week, you know, when hundreds, you know, were arrested coming to Nigeria from Nigeria and other countries, you know, bordering with Nigeria with PVCs. I didn't understand that.
Let's give INEC the benefit of the doubt that they are ready to deal with anyone.
You keep saying benefit of the doubt. I think that's a favorite phrase.
Oh yes.
But let's be realistic. INEC has already indicated that there are no registered voters in those polling units out of over 176,000. So whatever anybody decides to do in terms of cooking up figures from those polling units across 28 states, those figures will be invalid.
They are not.
Because I know INEC already says we are not having voters in those units.
Those are redundant polling units.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that. So it shouldn't be a case at all. But the one that really catches my attention is the one where the National Agency for Control of AIDS is advising individuals to share love on Valentine's Day, not HIV. This is coming against today, February 14, when St. Valentine's exemplary show of love is commemorated. Let's remember that St. Valentine is remembered for defying the orders of Emperor Claudius II by marrying young men and women in secret to stop the men from going to war. St. Valentine was eventually beheaded for this, remember. So, you know, Emperor Claudius II had resolved that single men made the best of soldiers. And he decided that people who are single would be the people who would go fight for him all the time. This meant that young men would not be given the benefit of staring into the eyes of young maidens, preferably under the moonlight, but rather would become candidates for stopping arrows and maybe being put down by axes and spears. So,
but you know, there are certain you know, stories. You know, I mean, different stories concerning Saint Valentine. You know, I mean. Well, of course, you know, it's during the Roman Empire. Yes, and of course, the stories are up to 3 or 4 different sources.
Well, whatever the stories,
but everything centered on love. You know, trying to ensure that whoever was the king at the time did not prevail. You know, he did it. He took a risk, and of course, he paid for it.
Thank you, Kirian. Please let me finish this. Elsewhere, the Indian government is urging citizens to refrain from using this year's Valentine's Day to express romance, but rather to hug or embrace cows as a way of showing Hindu values. different strokes or different folks. They are calling it Cow Hug Day. But on a serious note, St. Valentine's Day is not a day for our young men and young women to be blackmailed into losing their virginity or for illicit and unholy copulation. This is very important because the kind of interpretation our young people are giving St. Valentine's Day sometimes disturbs old-fashioned people like Chukwudi Okoli Ubaja. I don't know about you too. I'm talking about myself, you know. So we are asking our young men and women to be properly guided.
The thing is that
this is very important.
In Nigeria, we take things to different dimension, even things of international value. For instance, this Valentine thing. If you go to churches now, they have evolved so many programs, activities for single people, for married people. They have so designed and structured Valentine's Day as like a big time celebration in churches and various organizations. If you go to some gardens this evening, you see a couple of individuals coming together, dancing, and like what you say should not be done. Okay, you see it going on. So that's the way we do our things.
I don't know whether our creativity is functional or just being done for the heck of it. That I want to say.
All right, gentlemen, I want to bring up the issue of the pastor who
AK-47 pastor
who took an AK-47 to the pulpit. Apparently, the AK-47 was an issue to the elderly. So again, we come back to the whole question of the misuse of service personnel.
That could get the elderly sacked.
Hang on. Who posted the elderly? Who posted the policeman to be an elderly to a pastor? That is the issue. Who posted? That's the first question to answer.
We don't get policemen to use
when we need policemen to be on the beat, we don't have them.
Yes.
So the policeman is so idle, he doesn't even know what to do with his rifle issue, so he hands it over to his principal.
Yes.
Well, there is no indication whether the magazine was on the AK-47 or whether there was ammunition in the AK-47. But it sounds so strange and so bizarre. Hang on a second. It sounds so strange and so bizarre that a pastor would mount the pulpit with an AK-47 slung on his shoulders. And you're asking yourself, what is going on? And the congregation, of course, they said they were looking at each other and wondering what was amiss. Suppose the magazine had live bullets, and then suddenly the pastor opened fire on the church members. We are just no. Listen, it may seem like a joke. It may seem, let's recall, in 1978, Jonestown in Guyana.
In Guyana, exactly.
A pastor, a preacher, was calling on members to come and be drinking from a substance, from a drum, to be drinking a substance laced with cyanide. Yes. I never forgot the cover of Time magazine on that incident.
Remember Weko too.
They were drinking, and then they were all dying. So they were calling you, come and drink. So you carry an AK-47, and then people are looking at you. It is good that he has been arrested. And they just sometimes let me repeat. It is not after it has happened that somebody will say, we didn't know it was going to happen. Suppose that pastor opened fire on church members. Yes. Today everybody will be doing like this, and then
somebody give me hallelujah with that item of violence in your hands.
You waved it off. When I read it initially, as if it was.
I didn't wave it off, but I thought it was some kind of insanity. I am sorry, but that's what I thought.
What Kisile had just said made a lot of sense, because this is a high level of insanity. There's no justification, whatever, because even what he was altering in the altar there did not reflect the reason why he was having an AK-47. If you're preaching to people about God, what are you doing with gun? Gun and God, they cannot go together. In a church in Nigeria, we haven't gotten to a level where insecurity has got, will lead to a pastor carrying a gun in the pulpit and talking. We have taken this issue of Christianity as a show. That's what it is. We're raising pastors who are not properly grounded in Christianity and knowledge of the Bible, and they have people they talk to every Sunday, and they carry a gun and come into it and be posing as if you're one man from another planet.
The bizarre bottom line
that
is
silly.
Allowing people like this have influence on people's spiritual thinking. That's a movement to the abyss. It's unfortunate.
I have seen a video, a clip of a video on the social media in a church, not in Nigeria, but elsewhere, somewhere in Africa, either most likely Southern Africa. And the pastor or the priest, let's say the priest, was wearing a mask, and members of the congregation were also wearing masks, women. So I would therefore presume that this was during the COVID era, where you had the pandemic, Kirian. So the priest lowers his, I have a mask, let me demonstrate. So the priest will still carry this about. So This is what the priest had, right? So he lowers his mask, and then there are women. Women come to the priest. The women also had their mask on, then they lower it. One after the other, the priest was planting kisses on the lips of the women, some of them married. And then the after effect of that one was that one of the husbands of the women attacked the priest outside the church. It was a huge fight.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it on social media. I saw it on social media. So these are things that we're getting today in the name of Christianity. Okay, now let's talk about these banks, fuel stations rejecting old notes and ignoring the Supreme Court order. As a matter of fact, I've gone round the city deliberately to find out how people are reacting to this issue of old notes. Well, they give you reasons, you know, that Supreme Court judgment, yes, but they're not sure what to do. So to stay safe, you reject old notes. That's what is happening. And for some people who buy the Naira, for instance, because of we don't have cash any longer in circulation, they don't have to buy the old notes. If you have to pay for it, you have to get the new ones and not the old ones.
Yes.
So people are beginning to reject the old notes because they don't know what the situation is going to be.
Well, I am happy that tomorrow a pronouncement is likely to come from the Supreme Court. Then we'll know which way the cat jumps. Hopefully, things will be, you know, reasonably resolved tomorrow. We'll know where we're going. But I thought that what we needed to do was for somebody in a very influential position in government to come out and drop words that would remove this question of do I accept it, do I not accept it, you know, following the Supreme Court. You know, I think we should have handled it that way.
Well, I said this last week. I drew attention to habits, to practices, and just plain social disposition. I said it, if you recall,
yes,
that out of habit, people could choose to do some things. This is part of the consequence that we are seeing.
Yes.
Part of it, I would accept this money from you.
Okay.
And no amount of legislation, no amount of
old habits dying hard.
Not a matter of old habits. They just say we are not accepting this from you, and it spreads. It becomes, you know, a contagion, as it were, and it spreads. And the law is not supposed to act in vain. So what do? That's law can be, of course, can be an instrument for change. It can also be an instrument for reinforcing behaviors and habits. The other one, people have been saying the central bank has not issued a statement. Central bank has not issued it. What statement do you want the central bank to issue? The central bank, the Supreme Court already gave an interim order. So what statement did you expect the central bank to issue? So the Supreme Court says tomorrow, which is Wednesday, the 15th of February, it is trying the matter, and the Attorney General of the Federation has already entered an objection into the matter to say, listen, the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction, so we are waiting tomorrow.
At the end of the day, some people will say that the Supreme Court is more of an elitist, you know, arrangement in terms of how people appreciate it. You still need to talk to largely uninformed Nigerians on certain things. That's the point I am.
What makes the Supreme Court elitist?
No, I'm saying that pronouncement by the Supreme Court do not get to maybe up to 3/4 of Nigerians. It gets to those who are well informed, well educated. They're the ones who actually.
You want to, as an example, you want to go to Yobe, for instance, and tell them that, did you hear that the Supreme Court has now anointed the Senate President as a candidate for the senatorial election? That it doesn't get to the.
I bought pineapple. I bought pineapple somewhere yesterday. On a roadside. So I told the man, I don't have cash. He said, say yes, he accepts that. That's okay. I paid him. He said, he said he doesn't have any account. Let him bring his call his younger brother. His younger brother came. I paid him. He said, okay, this in the buy tire. I said, I'm not enjoying it. He said, I'm not enjoying it too. I said, okay, can I use old money to buy from him? He said, no, he said, Babu,
yes.
old money.
That's the level of thinking.
Yeah. Okay, finally, I regret raising coup alarm. Panika, you did.
You are bringing up matters.
What's happening to spokespersons
You're
of...
bringing up matters that...
No, it's something, just, let's just look at it briefly, you know, as to say, look, when you want to say something,
Yes,
you be cautious, knowing full well that this is a polarized nation. You don't make some statements that will tend to, point at you as being senseless or insensitive to the country.
Is a man I try to get lost in admiring his English. Moving away from there, I want to think that he might need to pause to think about some of these things before he utters them. Let me just stop there.
Well, he's due back on Wednesday at the DSS headquarters, according to him. But let's just remind ourselves of a few things. Look, you don't have to be in the public space if you don't have to be in the public space.
Exactly. Thank you.
I think that's very
it's
important.
Not compulsory.
And more importantly, 1983 is not too far from here. 1982 is not too far. That's about 40 years ago. There were persons who were saying Second Republic, where they made the arrangements, and the Second Republic collapsed. And we know the consequences that the Nigeria suffered as a result of the collapse of the second, when Shagari was overthrown. Yes. We know what we suffered and how we have tried to rebuild our country, since 1999 with all the tensions and so on and so forth. What is the use of this? And it's a weighty allegation to say, to allege that a presidential candidate is meeting with military generals in order to truncate. That's you're saying that it's treason.
You don't have to be in the public space when you don't need to be in the public space.
So gentlemen, let's conclude this segment here. I would like to thank Chukwudi Waja once more for being here this morning and, of course, deliberating on certain
I always want to thank you guys for exciting my Monday to Friday. And my old notes are coming to you. If I don't get new notes, I'm not going to leave your home.
You have to buy it.
So you have become a currency
Well, it is business of the day, so what can I do? We have to survive, isn't it? I'm not encouraging you to do that. You don't have to sell the currency. All right, we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria. We're discussing another political party who is, of course, campaigning to win elections come to the 5th of February. Do stay with us.
Just stop it. You stop it. Hey there, you're so stopping it. Our currency is our pride. Let's all treat it well. Let's handle it with care and respect. Remember the cashless policy. So reduce your cash transactions by using e-Naira, POS terminals, the ATM, and USSD codes using your mobile device. Keep our Naira clean and fresh. Be limitless.
This message is from the Central Bank of Nigeria.
The 26th edition of the PMB Administration Scorecard Series will feature the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Date Tuesday, 14th February 2023. Time 10:30 a.m. Venue National Press Center, Radio House, Abuja. The event will be broadcast live by NTA, FRCN, and VON, and streamed on the social media of the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Mrs. Lydia Shehu Jafia, MNI, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Announcer.
Nigeria is at the crossroads. Nigerians yearn for a rescuer, and the time to choose wisely is now. Who will save our fatherland? Who will rescue Nigeria? Only one man. He is battle ready, tested and trusted, capable and dependable. He is Atiku Abubakar. We call him the unifier on a rescue mission. He's detribalized, uncompromised, and ready to make Nigeria great again. Atiku is coming together with Ifeanyi Okowa. This team is unbeatable. This is no time for sentiment. It's time for competence. Atiku is the best option for a brighter tomorrow. Let's vote Atiku for president come 2023. Vote PDP. Power to the people. This message is sponsored by Atiku Okowa Coalition, Edo State.
Enjoy 50% discount off in the Airtel Home Broadband Season of Love offer. Buy a router for just 10,000 naira and get up to 240 gigabyte or a MiFi for 5,000 naira and get up to 125 gigabyte bonus data. More data, more you. Reliable home broadband by
Airtel, the smartphone network.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
Well, we thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria today. With about 11 days to the presidential election, political parties intensify campaigns to woo electorates to vote for their candidates. Allied People's Movement is one of the 18 parties canvassing for such votes, as reported by Joseph Olsen. I will now bring you the report.
2023 general elections is drawing closer, and indeed, the 18 registered political parties have been canvassing the country with a lot of promises to woo the electorate. With less than 2 weeks to go, most of the political parties are expected to run off campaigns soon. One among the parties slotting it out for seats in the upcoming February 25th and March 11, 2022 exercise is the Allied People's Movement, APM. Interestingly, it is the only political party that has fielded a female presidential candidate. The candidate, Princess Chichi Oji, who is from Delta State, is described by many as an astute administrator and corporate finance specialist who studied in Nigeria and abroad. In some quarters, they call the APM presidential candidate an Amazon for standing tall and keeping the voice of women loud by fighting for the #1 seat of the country. As an advocate of women empowerment, her manifesto amplifies, among others, empowerment of the girl child, welfare of the workforce, and political inclusivity. This is further anchored on its principle of strengthening the economy, improved security, and protection of the environment, as well as improved infrastructure. The APN has placed itself as a people-centered political party, existing solely for the advancement of welfare of Nigerian people and ensuring public resources are spent to address needs of the masses. With so much advocacy for women in elected and appointed positions and the People's-Oriented Manifesto, the outcome of the 2023 general elections will tell a lot how much the party has endeared itself to the Nigerian voters. Discussions on Good Morning Nigeria will give an insight to the work the party has done to achieve this feat.
Thank you very much, Joseph Olsen, for that background. We have two guests here with us in the studio to discuss issues around the APM presidential campaign. Let's welcome the national chairman of the party, Yusuf Maman Dantale. Yusuf Maman, we're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay. Also here with us is Ibrahim Mohammed, is the vice presidential candidate of the APM. Madam Ibrahim, good to have you on the program.
Good morning.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, gentlemen, yes, it's good to have you here this morning. As a matter of fact, APM, for me, is not yet a popular party, if you know, under circumstance, based on the fact that we have more established parties in Nigeria, you know, and they also have on record the new parties that emerged, and they have been making inroads, you know, in the political terrain of this country, and your party is one of them. Let's have an idea of the philosophy behind this party, so that Nigerians will begin to understand you from the fundamentals, you know, to see whether you will be able to woo them into understanding you and voting for your candidate, who happens to be the only woman or female candidate who's gunning for the #1 seat in this country. So tell us about the APM.
Good morning, Nigerians, and if you, wish you start by wishing you happy Valentine's Day.
Okay.
And I'm happy to be here. The APM is a very unique party. Yes, it's a very young party. It was registered on the 14th of August 2018, and then a few months to the 2019 general election. And by the grace of God and the favor of Nigerians who were tested, we won some seats, okay, in the state and federal legislative house, and that is why we still remain as one of the 18 registered political parties after the registration of others. And what is unique about APM is that we, looking at the political parties or terrain in Nigeria, yes, government doesn't fund political parties anymore, but so before that, most of these political parties have godfathers, okay, who ensure that the party does what the godfather want. Not, they don't do what they are not for the supporters or the members of the party, the generality of the members. But APM has this thing about this spirit of fraternity. It's about the people. Everybody is equal in APM. We don't do the bidding of anybody. We do the biddings of Nigerians. We try as much as possible to ensure that every interest is accommodated, and then every right is protected in APM. And why did we choose the logo cassava? And then this cassava is one crop in Nigeria that grow almost every part of Nigeria. And then with one stem, okay, cassava will produce a lot of tubers. I don't know what. And with minimal rainfall, it survives. So what it means, what that is meant to indicate that APM will come out very light, but it will be rooted among Nigerians at the grassroots. So what it means, APM is a party for the local man, is for the party for all. So we have we don't have preferential treatment in APM. Thank you.
Well, thanks. So let's still interrogate aspects around the APM, because I'm sure you probably will be embarrassed from time to time if people will be asking you, say, APM, which one is that? And part of what you were just explaining about your logo is pretty interesting, Kieran, to say you have chosen the cassava. You were talking about getting it rooted, and the fact that a single stem of cassava can yield many tubers on the ground once it is harvested. And by the way, Nigeria is the #1 producer of cassava around the world. So that's pretty unique. Now,
thank you.
You talked about APM winning some seats in the 2019 elections. Ahead of the 2023 elections just next week, what is the standing? Because we know that there have been defections in some cases. So what is your standing? How many members of your party are there, for instance, in the National Assembly, and in which State House of Assembly do you have them?
Currently, we have State House of Assembly members in Ogun State. We have a Federal House of Assemblyman in Ogun State. The man that won election in Ogun State, he moved into APC, but he came back later, and he's still running for the same seat in Ogun State. Okay, so and then in other states like in Kano and a few other states, we have serious candidates. Okay. We should understand one thing, that politics in Nigeria is really expensive. Okay, and in as much as we don't get funds from the party, from the government, money is involved in electioneering in Nigeria. And for you to win election in Nigeria, you have to do a lot financially. You must commit a lot of resources that we don't have. The parties today that we say they are bigger parties or they have presence everywhere, is because they have resources available to them, because you have governors who have access to public funds, you have senators or maybe who have access to public funds. I think this is one of the things that really distinguish these parties from. But we are trying as much as possible at least to use with the advantage of the social media to see how we can get a membership and woo people into coming into our party and supporting our party. And by the grace of God, we believe that will give us a better leverage, okay, to get into maybe to win more of the houses membership, maybe the senatorial seats, or House of Assembly, or House of Reps in the next election by God's grace.
Okay, you said something about godfatherism, which doesn't exist in APM.
Yes.
And you also mentioned the fact that in every political activity that money is required.
Yes, correct.
And we'd also like to know the source of your funding. I want to bring in Ibrahim Mohammed here, who is the vice presidential candidate. Right, I know, I mean, you have to fund campaigns, travel from coast to coast, if you like.
Yeah,
and
right.
How has it been, campaigning all this while with your presidential candidate, who happens to be a lady?
Yeah, I think I have to draw the attention of the public that this is the only party that fielded a female as a candidate. Not only female as a candidate, the youngest amongst the 18 candidates vying for the office of the president. And it's the only party that equally has a centered mind on Nigerians. It's a masses-oriented political party. So talking about finance or funding, most important here is the commitment, the ideology of which the APM is gearing its tool towards. There is no campaign activities without funding, of course, but the members, the APM family, are very committed members that use little resources coming out from their pockets, small donations within the armpits of the law. Yes. So, by God's grace, gradually, we are making it to, we are funding our activities within ourselves. We are making donation, appeal funds, and the presidential candidate who has contact within and outside the country have been spent most of our educational life abroad, canvassing support both here and outside the country, and using the available channel prescribed by regulations, attracting donation from foreign friends. So these are some of the sources of income that we're having and that we're using to run campaign. And successfully we are doing it to the best of our ability.
Now, like I said, how has it been? Are you making advances, positive advances, in terms of acceptability by the public, and how spread, is your party? Is it actually a national party in the right sense of it, in all ramifications, with respect to having, members in council areas and states of the federation? Or are you just concentrating in few states where you believe you have a comparative advantage?
No, what we understand here is Nigerians are not after political jamborees, street campaigns and other. What Nigerians are after this time around is a party with a focus, a party with a vision, a party with objectives. Concentrating on the center, on the middle, or the whole of the country. This party has spread in all the 36 states of the federation, and it has touched deep, rooted down local government and wards. So how do we do it? Like what our chairman has rightly said, that by the means of social media, we've been able to touch a lot of grassroots centers. By the means of social media, we've been able to mobilize, we've been able to advertise our manifestos, we've been able to advertise our objectives, and we've been having people coming across all segments of the society, across all segments of the country, knowing very well that we have a marketable product.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibrahim Mohammed. Back again to the national chairman of the APN. It was reported that you stepped down as the candidate of the party in order to enable the current candidate emerge. Could you explain to our viewers why that happened?
Thank you. You see, looking at our manifesto, you see that APM is one of the parties that is women-friendly, because we believe that women as mothers, okay, they have the love and affection on the woman is stronger than that of the man. Today, for instance, if a widow, they suffer more than a man who lost his wife. So, and so because of the, we believe in APM that women need to be empowered, because where they are in the scheme of affairs today in our society, I think is far below average where it is women are expected to be. So, and then looking at global trend of women inclusivity in politics, and then the 18 political parties, we feel that there is no single woman in the race. Okay, and we have been at the forefront of campaign for women inclusivity in politics. So based on that, I chose, and then in consultation with the leadership of the party, to step down to have a woman run for the seat of the president, because we believe they can equally do better.
Yeah, I know full well that both of you may not really paint a good picture of the character, you know, behind your presidential candidate, because Nigerians also like to know what she's made of, the stuff she's made of. So you refer to him as an Amazon, someone who has, you know, achieved, you know, laurels, you know, in academics and in business, more especially outside Nigeria. Right, and Nigerians also like to know whether she really understands the terrain in this country with respect to, you know, having the ability and capacity to run a nation of diverse ethnic groups, diverse religious, you know, beliefs, and what have you. And a country who, of course, has a checkered political history, you know, and all that. So tell us about her. Well, she's not privileged to be here, but I mean, I believe that you say you have a good product.
Yes,
a short while ago. So
yes.
how good is the product? Can we learn more about her?
First and foremost, she's a woman of virtue. She has the interests of this country at heart. And she's a dogged fighter. She's a freedom fighter. And above all, she's a champion of youth and women emancipation in this country. She's a person that understands that women need to be involved. Just like what has been mentioned earlier, that it is the only APM that fielded a female candidate, which means that we are sensitive to gender. We are not only sensitive to gender, we are sensitive to person that has productivity. This person is deeply rooted in entrepreneurship, in business. She has a vast knowledge in information and technology. What we require this is not an outdated leader. What we require is a person that is bridge builder, that can link between older and the new generation. She's a younger generation. She belongs to younger generation, but at the same time, she has a contact. She bridged to the older generation. She's a person that understands the terrain of this country. She came from the southern part of this country, but she has so many friends in the other part of the country, like myself and so many other people. She understands the tradition, the culture, the custom. She understands what Nigeria needs. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here this morning due to some very tight engagement. You know, we are in the campaign period. But of course, she's a person that can be marketed everywhere in this country, and she's a person that can be accepted, knowing very well that she's here to serve.
Earlier, you said that she's the youngest candidate.
For sure.
How old is she?
She's 42.
Okay. That would appear not to be correct.
Sorry, she's 44.
Okay. She's 40 something.
40 something, 44 thereabouts.
Okay. Then it would not be correct to assert that she's the youngest. Last week on this program, and sitting where you are sitting now, we had the presidential candidate of one of the parties. I apologize, the name escapes me now. Professor, somebody from Edo State.
Accord.
He's 39 years old.
Well,
Well, she's among the youngest.
Well, she's among the youngest.
But no, you said, no, hang on, you are clarifying it now. But earlier you said she's the youngest.
Okay,
so
all right.
now
Let's take it. She's one of the youngest.
Yeah, but the youngest, from what we do know,
yes,
at the moment.
And what makes her unique is she's female, out of 18.
No. The gender is not the issue. I'm just talking about the age so that we clarify it. Okay. I don't want to live here, or I don't want our viewers to go away with the impression that, the only female presidential candidate in the 2020 is the youngest. Okay. That's why I said, let's clarify.
Anyway,
it doesn't require any argument. Yes, since you have said now she's in her 40s, the gentleman who was here, our court party, said, is 39 years. That's what he says.
Anyway, I think it's good to keep the record straight, at least for telling us, fine, we accept that, but she's one of the youngest.
Exactly.
And why we are still emphasizing on the age barrier, if you look
you saying I'm an old man?
No. See, a situation whereby you have people who can hardly control themselves, who maybe were still arguing, there are still argument amongst the polity that they are either 90, 98, 58, 87. But when you have a 40-year-old person, you can call him a youngest. Get it right. We have people that maybe you can call them aliens, whatever you can call them. What the country needs younger generation. That's why we are emphasizing on the age. We have people that can virtually control themselves. So I think this 40 is good. And even if she's not the youngest, she is one of the youngest. And that gives her an advantage and opportunity.
Okay, thanks a lot, Vice Presidential Candidate of the APA. I want to return to the chairman of the party, Yusuf Maman Dantale. You did say that politics is pretty expensive in this country.
Correct.
And more essentially also electioneering. Correct. Pretty expensive. There's no requirement in the Constitution or the Electoral Act for political parties to field presidential candidates for them to remain relevant. And considering the field that you have to cover for a presidential election, why did you think it was necessary for you to spread yourself thin, as it were, considering your resource base on a presidential election rather than targeting some constituencies or some elections at the state or national level so that you continue to be in existence on the basis of the constitutional prescriptions?
Thank you so much. Nobody does it alone. The presidential candidate cannot vote herself alone into power, even if you have everything. It is the people, the legislative candidates, the governorship candidates, all they have their supporters to devolve to the grassroots. So it's all this thing that will sum up into the votes that we have at the center. So we didn't make any mistakes. Yes, it is expensive, but there are other measures. Expensive what I mean here, now today you have some parties, they can afford to have 4 or 5 private jets going for campaign, okay, because for physical presence. Yeah, but yes, in as much as we cannot have our physical presence, galvanizing all these people, bringing them together into one location, we are able to reach out to them through other medium. For instance, we have a social media platform where you have every NWC member and every state arm and the local government arm, one person to bring 5, one person to bring 5. I will continue like that to devolve it to the end. Yes, that is what we mean. So, but that does not mean we are not capable, we don't have what it takes to contest the presidential election. We are.
Okay. What I'm pursuing is this. In the law of power, there's also the power of concentration.
Yes.
Namely, look, you are up against 17 other candidates, and you were itemizing some of the visible evidence of their expenditure. You said private jets, X, Y, Z. And I'm saying that the law doesn't require you to be on the presidential ballot. You said you have some members in the legislature in Kano and also in the National Assembly. Could you therefore not have concentrated in some of these things, and more particularly also, if the occasion arose, in the councillorship and chairmanship elections, so that you grow organically? Or is it a status symbol that we also have a presidential candidate?
Yes, let me go back to, if you have been monitoring what we do, as the chairman of Allied People's Movement, I double as the National Secretary of Inter-Party Advisory Council. Under the umbrella of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, several times and whenever the opportunity arises, I try as much as possible to make case for the scrapping of State Independent Electoral Commission because it is evil, okay, and it's retrogressive and it's undemocratic. You understand? So now you have that is one of the ills of our democracy in Nigeria today, because where government is supposed to be concentrated, the one that is closest to the people is in the pocket of a few persons. Today, if it is party A is the governor of this state, where you have a state local government election, that state will take over everything. In River State, for instance, I want to give you an example. We ran election, local government election. We won election. They were counting it. After counting more than half, and they discovered that our party was winning, they have to stop that thing and use security agency to disperse our people. At the end of the day, they say the traditional council leader called the candidate and said they should consider. You understand? So many other places like that. And that is what is responsible for some of the things, some of the social ills you see at the grassroots, because government at the grassroots is totally absent. It is either you are a son or a boy to the governor, or you are loyal. It's not about the people accepting you. It's about the governor wanting you to be there. That is all. And that is one too. You look at it too. The president, yes, he tried in his capacity to see that there's local government and legislative autonomy. Yes. You see that it's the same governors that killed it. And now that the issue of this Naira swap is here before election, the governors just throw themselves with overnight they are in court. And as who was in strike, as who was on strike for having liberty talk, or is a talk. So some of these things are the problem. So we will. This is just a diversion, but it's still they are related. Exactly. You understand? So we should, as much as possible, the media should help us to speak against State Independent Electoral Commission. It's either INEC. INEC is conducting election or FCT. So FCT is one of our area council, okay, even though it's not a state. So if INEC can conduct election for FCT, let it conduct the same election for the states. Or the standard should be made. Let the same be as every other thing that is used to conduct election. Let it. But as long as we have state independent, and that is its major problem. You cannot build something on nothing. The foundation of our democracy, which is the grassroots government that is closest to the people, the third tier, is absent. When we were children, you see local government chairmen constructing feeder roads. You see them building hospitals, clinic, primary health centers. You see them drilling borehole and building market square. But today it has become state project. The local government chairman only attend functions that the governor want them to follow him to attend. It's not because they don't. So until we get that right, whatever we are doing now you can see the pressure on presidential, state and local government election, because the government, if government that is close to the people is actually felt by the people, the pressure that we have up here won't be there.
Yes, I need to chip in to what he's saying about the question you have just asked. Yes, one would wonder that why parties like APM shouldn't concentrate on the maybe grassroots, the local council election and so on and so forth. But every sensible Nigerian with right thinking mind will vie, if he has a platform, will vie for presidents comes 2023 or in this 2023. If you look at this present administration, when it comes to power, it campaigns on three cardinal objectives: security, economy, and fight against corruption. To be sincere, are Nigerians satisfied with this? Is the government doing exactly what it said it will do? This is the 8th year. So one of the reasons why we are jumping from what you expected us to do to maybe what you didn't expect us to do, because I think maybe from your thought we shouldn't be contesting the presidency, is because we are dissatisfied. We join other Nigerians to voice our voice that we are not satisfied with what is going on. And if things like this is not happening, then the worst is coming. Look at the security in the country, especially look at what is happening in the Northwest. Look at the so-called fight against corruption for goodness sake, for 7 years. It is either from bad to worse or from worse to bad, whatever you can call it and however you can view it. Look at the economy. I will leave that economy for you to say. Are we in good shape? The country is heading into a collapse.
Okay.
You look to be in good shape.
Now, gentlemen, let's be more realistic this time around. Your analysis are just okay. I mean, it's in tandem with the current situation in the country.
Thank you.
Right, and we are looking forward to how you can bring a kind of a remediation as a political party to change the course of history of the country and the direction of leadership.
By God's grace.
Now, let's be realistic. Do you intend, or is there any plans for APM to engage in an alignment with other parties? Because invariably you are among the younger parties in the lineup of the 18 that are contesting. We have 3 major now. We used to have 2 major. We have 3 major now, and other parties like PRP who have been there for a very long time. And all that. So, could that be a kind of alliance? Teaming up to say, let's form let's have a formidable backbone to say, look, our ideology is similar to the ideology of so party. We can align and see how we can attach ourselves to a bigger party, and of course launch the election. In which case, if that person wins, you are going to partake in the formation of government.
Mr. Carrier, what makes you think that we align with somebody? Why don't you ask somebody to align with us? Are you sure that we are not winning this election?
No. I'm saying that.
What he's saying, I need to get him. He didn't say. He is saying that is there a window if there is a possibility? And I want to answer this question. First, there are times you have a program. There will be media houses. Maybe NTA will be late or channels will be late. You pick the video, from your sister.
Who taught you that?
No, we see from your sister company, but you still report the same thing. You achieve the same goal. So, and political party is just a vehicle. And the destination of all political parties is one: governance.
Yes,
good governance. Government that will be responsible and responsive to the people. And it is only one person that will emerge in the 18, among the 18 candidates. So definitely, if you see, now he is coming here. If I had met him if I was able to meet him earlier, maybe we wouldn't have used he wouldn't have come here with his own car. We'll use one car and come here and still go back, achieve the same goal. So if we won't say we are aligning with anybody now, but if we see
a window of opportunity,
that yes, Nigeria will be better. What we want Nigeria to be, it will come to be if we come together with this. Nobody can do it alone. APC cannot do it alone. PDP cannot do it alone. NRM cannot do it alone. Labour Party can't do it alone. You must come together. Everybody has something that they want to do for Nigeria before they came out to say, I want to run. So, and this is what I want our politicians or political actors to see. Not that somebody will come out and say, it is me. I must be the one. I have to be. No, it is only you. Nobody is Mr. Perfect. No one knows it all. No one have it all. We must ensure we have we have a government of national of inclusivity, and that is why I am not saying I am not here to patronize anybody, but I want of all the governors we have in my politics in the Interparty Advisory Council, there is one governor that stands out, and that is the governor of Delta State. If you go to Delta State, almost all the political parties you have, including my party, they are in his cabinet, and that is good politics. So we should learn to see how we can have all the political, at least if you are in power, bring other persons to come. What do you have?
Political parties, yes.
Well, I was just wondering, Dantale, the other point I wanted to raise, I would I will tarry on that and then bring up this issue. I keep hearing this point made by Nigerian politicians and political advocates that we want an inclusive government, we want a government of national unity. You hear that from time to time, particularly when there is tension. Look, why don't we address the electoral system? Why shouldn't we campaign for the electoral system? For instance, the whole idea of proportional representation, if we achieve that, we'll make it mandatory. Let's give you an example. You APM, you get into the presidential elections next week, and you score, I'm giving you an example now. Let's say you score 25 million votes, and I'm from another political party, and I score 24, you score 25 million, and I score 24 million 880 something thousand votes. You become the winner. 24 million plus votes are garnered. Those votes are wasted, lost. Under proportional representation, we have a number of countries that practice that on the African continent. Namibia, of course, is there. South Africa is also there. It means that the proportion of your votes will determine the number of seats you would have in the National Assembly. And then the proportion, if assuming you have it also restricts you to the cabinet size, Kirian, to say, if I give you again for purpose of example, you have 10 cabinet positions. If you score 10% of the votes, it means you are entitled constitutionally to one cabinet position. One. It is not by the will or the goodwill or gesture of anybody to say, APM, well, I come. Then the day they get dissatisfied, it will sack you from the cabinet. So why don't we talk about this? I know that President Yaradua tried to engage the Ways Committee to work in this direction. It's something I've also written about in the past, because anybody who witnessed South African election, witnessed Namibian election, would know the role of proportional representation in ameliorating the racial tensions in that country. So why do we keep talking and saying this is what we want?
This is why APM is APM, and this is why we want to win the election. This is why we want to win the presidency. This is why we want to be in government, because APM believe in citizens' engagement, because it is only through citizens' engagement, and then having the government devolve to the grassroots that you can feel what the people really want. Now, if you are in government or you have your way of contributing government, you have just suggested something that will help this country to turn around Nigeria. Are you getting me? But somebody will not talk to you. Somebody will not listen to you because you are not ready to clean his shoes. So we have a system that only believe. And why is it like that? It is only person that is loyal to us. Politics, I am sorry to say this, in Nigeria is more of business than serving the people. The lucrativity of political office holding is outrageous.
Seriously.
People do not seek political office because they want to serve. You seek political office because you think if you go there, your life and that of your family, your generation will change. You have so many today. At times you will see the clash between the functions of the executive and that of the legislature. People expect the legislatures to come and construct their roads. This is purely the function of the executive to come and do this. So no, it's not about lawmaking again. And what you see is that it's like the executive is bribing the legislature, with part of what they do. This was, what do they call that money that is given to constituency allowance? And constituency project. So you now see the clash between the functions of the executive and that of the legislature. So lawmaking is now secondary.
And ICPC has been conducting audits around the country.
Yes,
and
some
of those constituency projects are said to be in the pipeline. Are said to be in the pipeline.
Okay, see, what my colleague raised has really, led me into thinking towards changing the system.
Yes.
Because if you have to engage proportional representation,
Yes.
then it doesn't have to be a presidential system of government.
Yes.
For you to do that.
Yes.
It's either you go where before, which is the parliamentarian, and all that. Well, I think what I've mentioned that is very, very crucial here is the fact that there is a clash between the presidency and the legislature in terms of what should be what is should be your mandate.
Yes.
For me, I believe that constituency project has never been. I mean, for me, it's
alien.
It's not just alien,
just
but it's a scam, right? And that is why ICPC is currently going around to see whether these projects are. I can't understand how a representative of a place you could try to midwife or monitor projects that are coming to your constituency, but not for you to get the money yourself and begin to look for a contractor yourself to to ensure that that project is prosecuted. Now, my question is, would you suggest a different system of government to avoid, or rather to now include the point my colleague made with respect to representation? To say, because in the 70s when we were going presidential, I don't believe that Nigerians sat down properly to analyze the structuring of presidential system of government and how you should go. Because if we borrowed from America, are we really practicing exactly what they're doing? If yes, I'm not sure would I be in all this administrative quagmire that we'll find ourselves. So APM, would you suggest for a shift in terms of system, of government? Because of course we also know that this system is a capital intensive as well.
Yes, of course.
You see, the democracy is a very good system of government, but it will always be good to align the democratic practice to the people, the reality of the people. Today, the president of Nigeria is second to God. The president is too powerful in this country. The president can determine the fate of anything from his bedroom. But if you have a system, irrespective of whatever is coming from wherever, it will still, because it is the center that determines. But what is the center producing? What is the center bringing on board? So I believe it will be good, or it will be better if we can strengthen the regional the regional entities, from the local government to the state. What are you bringing on board? Are you getting me? And then let them be the ones to contribute from what they have. To the center, instead of the center determining what happened and distributing. So you see, it's a lot of anachronism.
What's the take?
Yes, I think a presidential system is not bad, honestly, if we can be adhered to the principle of democracy. What we are having here is a presidential system with a lot of smuggled items in. Yes. This attitude of politicians, especially in Africa and especially in Nigerian context, that winner takes all, is a bad syndrome. We may not likely go back to parliamentary system. We can still have the presidential system with a sense of inclusiveness, like what President Obasanjo did in 1999. I think there was a government of national unity drawing from AD and APP. So also Yaradua tries. So it is about strict adherence to democratic principle. It is about genuine interpretation of the system, and it's about service. The clashes between the executive and the legislature is much more like as personal interest. One is trying to override the other because to satisfy one's personal interest. If we can put away the personal interest and serve the country, then we shouldn't be having a clashes. The Constitution has defined and prescribed responsibility of each. So, constituency project, access power to the president, all these are the smuggled items that Nigerian politicians smuggle into the system.
The issue is interpretation. I blame the legal system as well.
Mr. Keren, there is nothing bad with the interpretation, to be honest with you. The interpretations are there. The judiciary interprets to a reasonable extent.
But why the confusion?
But the confusion is self-centered mechanism that we are using. That the politicians, like what the chairman said, the politicians are there not to serve, rather than to serve themselves. You know, you can pick somebody from Gota, you know him very well. After 2 days, not only him, the children will be riding Lamborghini, will be having a weekend in Dubai and so on and so forth. And nobody's saying anything. And some useless persons from somewhere will say that integrity. I would be shouting integrity, shouting this and that. Like we don't know what we're doing. All these things are pure and blank. If we can respect ourselves, respect our constitution, go back to democratic principle, serve this country, then we have nothing to worry about.
Right. And I want to just add a little to this issue of clashing the judicial interpretation. And you know, they are Nigerians. The judges are Nigerians. Okay, they think, and somehow they might not come out to the street to protest, but through their action, they will protest. They believe, or it is expected, that the politicians should be able to manage the system. Are you getting me? Manage themselves, manage the political parties, manage the. But when they see the politicians, you are in the same party, for instance, you see this person is here, that person is here, and the president will say this, the candidate of that party will say something different. So you see the judicial system. What are they doing? These people are expected to be the governors, the managers of the system, and now they are fighting themselves. So what do we do? If they get tired, they have brothers, they have friends.
Okay, thanks. Well, you're getting into an area of jurisprudence, which is the science of law. And then, of course, you have the realism in jurisprudence, the Scandinavian realist and American realist. We can't get into all of that now. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue with our two gentlemen on this very interesting conversation.
Good morning.
Good morning. Why is your sun shining like this?
Can't you see that Hamatan season is here? We need to protect our children from this dry weather.
What about the invisible germs?
Invisible germs?
During Hamatan, it's not enough to only protect your skin. You also need protection from these invisible germs. To protect our families, we use Dettol.
Harmattan season brings a lot of germs, but Dettol with Germ Defense gives protection from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol sure.
The security situation in Nigeria has been reasonably stable in spite of activities of unpatriotic elements engaged in various criminal activities around the country. Daily situation reports coming in from the states. 2 months ago, it has shown relative peace on many of our highways, such as Abuja, Kaduna Birnin Gwari, Sokoto, Zamfara, Kaduna.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement. terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
All right, you're welcome back to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We still have with us the Vice Presidential candidate, Ibrahim Mohammed of the APM, and the party chairman, Yusuf Mama Dantale, who of course had to step down for the party to now present the only female presidential candidate in next week's general elections. Gentlemen, let's get into a little bit of specifics. And I want to have recourse to your party logo, the cassava that you talked about. What is your agenda for agriculture, if any? And agriculture looks perhaps too broad a subject matter. I would just say food security.
Thank you. I am a farmer. I was a national. I inherited a plant, oil mill processing plant, and I've been able, after the death of my father, be able to expand and establish plantation, which I think is today in my region is the largest privately owned oil palm investment that is producing now. And one thing, I've been the National Secretary of the National Palm Producer Association of Nigeria, NPAN, for over 8 years. So if it is agriculture, I think I do well. Yes, while technology can take over anything, it can never take over food. And food is one of the basic necessities of life. That if you are able to secure food, secure shelter, secure health, and education, I think you have a balanced society. Every other thing will be secondary. So if we emerge, get into power by the grace of God, we will embark. Nigeria, God has given us enough land mass. Okay, but the problem now we have is security. Most of our farmers cannot go to the farm because of insecurity in some parts of the region. And what we'll do, because you have to look at this thing holistically. You can't talk of agriculture without security. We can't talk of agriculture without health and education. Though these things must go simultaneously. And if you look at who are the people engaging in insecurity, for instance, the insecurity itself is not a problem. As a student of sociology, it is only indicating that something is wrong with the socio-economic and political arrangement. If the people have hope and confidence in the system, and they know that if we get up, my life is secure. Even if I'm not alive, my children will be able to go to school. I will have what to eat and all that. Social security. They won't go into some of the things they are going. And if people are enlightened, they are educated, and they know that what they are doing is harmful to their own themselves, they won't go into what they are going into. So we will take education, okay, and agriculture and security together before we can get it. Because you must secure the farm as it sits today before people can go to the farm. And you must provide. In the past, our agriculture was easier is because most of the farmlands are closer to residential, to the houses. But most of the places that those farms now have been taken over by residents. You can see that. So it won't be easy for people to leave their houses and go to the farm. So you must provide means, social amenities, okay, that will facilitate their going to the farm. And then well, now, like oil palm, for instance, which is my primary area of farming, is something that if they improve variety of oil palm seed will grow. Yes, theoretically it is like 3-4 years, but in reality, for you to have in commercial output, it's like 7-8 years. So now, how many persons, how many farmers can afford to go to the farm, plant oil palm today, and then wait until 2-3 years or 4 or 5 years before they can? So there should be provision.
Yeah. Don't tell it. I will give you the question for you. The agricultural issue. Hang on, please. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just need, because he's talked about his involvement in palm plantation.
Yes.
Please clarify this. I did it for my own enlightenment and also for our viewers. I learned from the former Minister of Agriculture about 10 years ago, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, who said that there are at least 24 states in Nigeria where palm trees can be cultivated and the yield is good.
Correct.
That's correct? Has the number increased, or is it still 24?
No, we are still like, when I was the secretary, I have tried to see how I can maybe experiment some other states. I tried states like Adamawa, okay, and it's growing, but the yield, we don't have the expected yield because of the insufficient rainfall, and the topography of that area. So as it stands, it is still 24 states.
Yeah. Okay. You know, it's a soil matter.
Yeah.
But then when we have improved seedlings, right, and you could also have with some fertilizer and what have you. But we won't go there now, as time is not on our side. Let's bring in again Mohammed, the vice presidential candidate. Let's leave agriculture for now. Talk about power, because one, in the current economy, power is very strategic. And of course, you know the story of power in Nigeria. We've been, I mean, it's like a tug of war.
Energy,
the energy, and all that. So, what do you intend to do with power? And again, after that, we're going to oil. You know, because it's also another key, very crucial, item, developmental item. So, what will you do with power when you get to the seat of power?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirian, but please pardon me to say one or two in
about agriculture,
because it's very paramount.
Okay.
You know, we are talking about food security, and specifically we are talking about agriculture. And a chairman made some background, especially on the palm farming, and he made mention of being a farmer, which unfortunately I'm a consumer. But I came from Kebbi State, where we produce rice. So talking about agriculture and farming in this country, especially under this administration, of which President Muhammadu Buhari daily preaches farming, encouraging people to go back to the farm. And a chairman made mention of issues, the challenges in the agriculture, the challenges in the farming. That's the security challenge, which is most paramount. But there are some other challenges that need to be addressed. Looking at agricultural approach in Nigeria, this country, most of African countries are being fed by peasant farmers, which at least by now we should have encouraged large-scale farming. But talking about the peasant farmers, talking about the small farming that we are doing in our backyards, do we really encourage farming? Do we do this? Does the administration enough? What we're saying?
Will you do differently?
That is what I want to tell you. That what we will do differently is to provide adequate fertilizer with subsidized rate.
Input.
Other agricultural inputs. The farmers are buying a bag of fertilizer at around 20-something thousand, which is outrageous.
How will you deal with the fertilizer mafia?
Very, very good. There is this need for international collaboration. The international collaboration in the sense that more industries, fertilizer industries should more fertilizer industry should be allowed to come in. Then
is it to come in to set up the industry here, or for them to be bringing in the one that have made in their country?
What we're having now is we are importing fertilizer from Morocco, from Ukraine and other European countries. What we need to do is to ask them to come here, to set up industries here. So that will have, will give them a tax relief,
okay.
Of which the production will be, of which the prices after the production will be low.
We're trying to manage time here.
Yes.
You said it all. What you have said, what you are going to do. You encourage a fertilizer companies, to come and establish here in Nigeria.
Yes.
I'm sure you'll also encourage, Nigerians as well to own such companies as well.
Let me tell you one funny thing.
I want you to talk about power. Your time is going. Talk about power. What do you do with power? Because of course it's a big problem in this country. Because some people believe that when you get power right, other things will fall in place. So what would you do about power?
All right. What we'll do differently is we'll encourage the introduction of other sources of power.
Good.
Yes.
Break the monopoly.
Yes, we'll break the monopoly. Solar power generation, green energy revolution. So this is what we require. We can't just depend on the old system. The hydropower, which collapses most often, the gas, which collapses most often. We have abundant sunlight that can power even our industries. So renewable energy will be our main focus.
You see, one of, I think, 80% of the problem of production in Nigeria is energy. Today, diesel is sold at 800 and something. I have a 60 kVA plant in one of my small firm that I process water. But I have not been able, I'm looking for somebody to buy, and nobody will buy because nobody can buy the diesel.
When the sun is always rising freely.
Hotels, for instance, they can't operate. Look at the rate at which people pay hotel. Now, all the things that we are paying for hotels is because of the cost of diesel.
What do you intend to do to break the monopoly that you talked about? Are we going to have a regional, national grade, or what have you?
Simple.
To be able to
license
power. That's what
license individual companies.
We have had licenses given out to people that have not done anything yet.
No, the license given out to people is to distribute. You have not given license to people to generate. So if you give people license to generate,
generation is not the problem in Nigeria today. The problem is distribution and transmission. That's what the problem is, not generation.
You are generating from everything you have is from one source, which is the government. If you allow people to establish their source of energy generation using solar and other wind turbines to generate electricity, voila, you have something different.
No, I'm wondering, let's clarify this. What about the GENCOs? GENCOs are not government. It's TCN, the transmission, that is government. Are you therefore saying that you would encourage investment in renewables by way of generation?
Okay, maybe you have helped in modeling and perfecting my English for me. That is what it is.
No, your English is correct. Yes. That's the idea that
still on the generation and the distribution, I think we must accept the fact that we still have problem of generation, because if you look at 2-3 months of one a year ago, how many times does national grid collapse? It collapsed most often. So, and it is from the generation. You cannot blame the distribution when you don't have enough. So you must have enough first for you to know how to distribute.
And sabotage.
Yeah, of course there are sabotage. No doubt about that one. But the generation itself has a problem.
Okay, gentlemen.
It is only when you...
Gentlemen, we are still importing refined fuel in this country. And you all know the story, the trajectory of fuel situation in Nigeria. What are you going to do differently? How do we trust that when you get there, you'll be able to change the trend?
You see, when I talk, I try to, even in as much as we look at immediate solutions to problems, we must look at the sustainable, the source of that problem. The problem is a system. Nigeria, the spirit of economic nationalism and political nationalism is absent. Everybody wants to look at his interest first. We have Buhari try as much as possible. He said, when I come in 8 years, I will build one refinery and all those, even the ones that we have.
Talk about what you will do.
So what we will do is to license people to refine oil, support them, monitor this. Dangote, we said Dangote will produce. Dangote has just established the largest refinery and it will start producing. But it is believed that the moment Dangote start producing, the price of petroleum will. And I'm made to understand that they are already the production is on and distribution is on, but the problem is getting. So I feel there is a mystery around production and distribution of petroleum that must be broken, because it is a very strong and lucrative.
What about fuel subsidy?
Fuel subsidy. You and I know that it is still, this is still part of the mystery around petroleum production and distribution in Nigeria. There are people who believe that it is ours, this is where we make it, and nobody will come to it, no matter how powerful the person is.
And I think what we do differently is we will not continue to allocate a large chunk of money in our budgetary allocation on refers of refinery. The refinery should be sold, and no doubt about that, and no apology to that. We will definitely, when we get there, we'll solve the refinery, and for us to make the refinery functional, then
you sell it to individuals or corporate.
Well, corporate organization is all the same. It's just a language. What matters is how can these refineries work. So we must accept the fact that there are a lot of sabotage in the system. That we will not continue to budget billions and billions upon billions annually in the name of refining. In the name of
I just want to add something. Yeah. You know, nobody has monopoly of knowledge. There are countries that are doing this thing very well, that will not have this problem. So we have experts. Okay, it's just to filter those that we think have spirit of economic nationalism. You understand? Get the team together and then bring up preferred solutions that you have the political will that you can implement sincere solutions that will be preferred by the team.
Very quickly, before we thank you formally for being our guest this morning, you see there's a lot of sabotage in the system.
Correct.
If APM wins the elections,
by God's grace,
will heads rule?
Well, like I have earlier mentioned, that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari campaigned vigorously.
We're talking about you now. Just proceed. Proceed so we don't sign you off in mid-sentence.
Fight against corruption. Yes. Hate would roll because the approach in the fight against corruption would be technological. We'll employ technology in the fight against corruption. We'll go for preventive rather than sentencing.
Okay. All right. Ibrahim,
let me just say, you know, there's one writer who said a leader must be a terror to a few who terrorize the majority of the people. So you have to be, the leader have to terrorize those people so that you can get it.
All right, but without being a dictator, follow the rule of law. Ibrahim Mohammed, Vice Presidential Candidate of the Allied People's Movement. It's been a pleasure having you on Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you so much.
And you have our best wishes for next week's presidential
election. I hope to invite you for our inauguration.
Well, when will the inauguration be?
Yeah, that's the 29th May of 2023.
Oh, 29th of May?
Yeah, of course.
2023.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The invitation is accepted, but it will be in escrow.
And Kira too.
Kira, you also have the invitation. Both of us, by the grace of the Almighty.
All right.
Yusuf Mama Dantale, always a delight having you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being
wonderful
chairman
moment
of
with you.
Allied People's Movement.
And
so that's it for our discussion segment. Let's go back down to sports.
Napoli fans now look forward to buying replicas of Victor Osimhen's mask on match days, according to La Gazzetta dello Sport. Replicas of Osimhen's mask were on sale in the stores outside the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium, and hundreds of fans were seen queuing to buy the gadget on Sunday before their game with Cremonese. Majority of the fans also bought his shirt to go with the mask. The Nigerian international is Serie A's leading scorer with 17 goals in 18 matches, including 8 in the last 6 appearances. Napoli on course to win their first Scudetto in 33 years, with 16 points clear at the top of the log.
Zielinski curls it in, and it's a fine save. Kim and Osimhen, of course.
In tennis, Wu Yingbing became the first Chinese man to win an ATP Tour title with victory over John Isner at the Dallas Open. The 23-year-old ranked 97th in the world won 6-7, 4-7, 7-6, 7-3, 7-6 in just under 3 hours. He saved 4 match points against American former world number 8 Isner.
Wu Yibing is a champion on the ATP Tour for the very first time. He becomes the first Chinese man in the Open era to win an ATP Tour title.
All right, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We thank you for watching and hope to see you again tomorrow, where we return with a fresh edition of the program. I'm Kyrian Umaye.
Look after yourselves. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.